everyone and welcome back. In today's video I'm going to do the exact same video as I did 1 year ago, in which I looked back on my reading year of 2016. So I am going to use the same questions. I have altered them a little bit, but all in all they are the same questions. I think this is a great way to reflect back on my reading and kind of think of the books I've read and what I thought of them. So I'm not going to go through all of the books I've read this year. That will take way too long, because as it says in my first question, which I have on my phone, I'm asking myself, how many books have I read in 2017? And I have read a total of 122 books as I'm filming this. I'm pretty sure I will be able to finish one last book before the year ends, which is in a couple of days. But right now I have finished 122 books, which is a lot. I really think that's a lot, especially when you consider the fact that I've struggled a little bit with my reading this previous year, so that I haven't been as engaged in my reading as I normally am. I have felt a little bit slumpy, and it comes in waves, and it's a feeling that I still have. So that's why I'm now going to answer my second question, which is my Goodreads reading goal for 2018. I've thought a lot about this. First of all, I thought that I would set it at about 50 books, because I didn't want to pressure myself into reading a lot if I didn't feel like it, and I felt like 50 books was a good enough goal. But then I was like, isn't that a little bit too little? So that it's better to just put it at 75 books, so that I also encourage myself to actually pick up a book and read. But all in all, I just really don't want any pressure on myself in the upcoming reading year. I just want to read whenever I feel like it, and I want to kind of see how much I actually read when I only read whenever I feel like it. So that's why I've decided to not put up a Goodreads goal of 2018. I have zero expectations when it comes to my reading. Obviously, I'm pretty sure I'm going to read at least a few books next year, if not a lot. But I don't want to pressure myself in any way. Question number 3 that I'm asking myself is my best and worst reads of 2018. Now, the worst one, if we start out on a negative tone, has to go to The Keeper of Lost Things by Ruth Hogan. Thankfully, I checked this one out from the library, because it's not a book that I'm ever going to read again, that's for sure. I really didn't like this one. This was such a big cliche, and I think what really disappointed me is that it was nominated for one of the best books of 2017 on Goodreads. So that's why I picked it up, and I had very high hopes, and then it just turned out to not really be that book. It's a very, as I said, cliched book. It's too cozy, it's too comfortable, and it's too predictable. I got so fed up with hearing about this nice cup of tea all the time. It started out really good actually, because it is about this man who is a keeper of lost things, but then it just gradually goes downwards from there, and it ends up being such a boring read in my opinion. However, the next one is one that I have on my shelves, because it is, where is it? As I was saying, it is one of my favorite reads of 2017, and that is, well, it is my favorite read, I have to say, The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck. This is actually a second-hand copy that I found in a second-hand bookstore. It's kind of yellow all over, even the cover, but also the pages. So I think that one of my goals of next year is to get me a new copy, a brand new copy, and in English, so that I can reread this one but in its original language. I really want to do that. But this one is such an amazing story. I really can't emphasize enough how great this one is. Let's see, which new authors did I discover in the previous year? I discovered Liz Moore. I read first her The Unseen World, and then I also read her other book called Heft. Let me find it, which is this one, and I really enjoyed her books, not her. I really enjoyed her books. So that's a new author that I I'm trying to juggle all of these books while talking. That was a new author I discovered in this previous year. I also have Gabrielle Talent written down because of this novel, which was really good, one of my favorites. Furthermore, I discovered Jonathan Safran Foer in this previous year. Of course, I had already heard about him, but 2017 turned out to be the year in which I actually read him. Next, I have a question about which author did I read the most books from, and that has to be Fredrik Backman, who wrote, amongst others, Beartown, A Man Called Over. My grandmother called to ask me to say that she's sorry, something like that. I read 3 of his novels in the previous year, and I really like him for his humor and his lightness in his books. I actually don't think that I kept on to any of his books because he's one of those authors that I enjoy reading at the moment, but it's not one of those authors that I appreciate that much so that I want to reread his books. Question number 6 is favorite release of 2017. For this one, I have 2 books. I couldn't settle on one. I have here Stay With Me by Ayobami Adebayo, which I explain more about in my favorites video, which went up very recently. So if you want to hear more about it, check out that video. And that goes for this one as well, which I've already mentioned, but this is my absolute darling by Gabrielle Talent. Both of these were released in 2017 and I'm very thankful for that. Question number 7 is my favorite classic of 2017. Once again, I couldn't decide on one book, so I have 2 to show you. First one is a reread. Actually, both of them are rereads, but anyway, they are my favorite classics of this year, and that is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. You know I love this one, and this time rereading it was no exception. And then also East of Eden by John Steinbeck, which is probably more of a modern classic, but I still consider it a classic and a really good one. Now we're getting to the serious stuff, because number 8 is current amount of books that I own. I counted my books on my shelves behind me last night, and I made it to 334 books. I made 2017 the year in which I got rid of a lot of the novels on my shelves, which I was never going to reread or didn't want to hold on to. So that's why I've now ended up on 334 books. I do see myself diminishing my collection even more in the future, but for now I'm happy with the way it looks and I like my books. It's not like I don't like to collect them, it's just that I don't really like to move with them and carry them all around. Last question is maybe the one you are very excited to hear about, and that is the current amount of books on my TBR. And once again, I counted them last night and I have a total of 66 books that I have yet to read, which is not too much. I mean, it's still a bunch of books, but it's a bunch that I can look forward to reading, maybe in 2018 or in 2019, who knows. But basically, that is my current amount of unread books. And that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm very excited to see where 2018 will bring me when it comes to my reading, because as I said, I have been feeling kind of slumpy. And I'm not going to pressure myself to read next year at all. I'm just going to read whenever I feel like it. So that is going to be interesting to see where that will lead me. I hope you enjoyed this video. Until my next one, happy reading.